We have the power to change our thoughts and our beliefs. So start there.
Hey friends, your life is going to show up in ways we don't always expect. And if we don't know how to manage our thoughts about those things, well, those moments can spiral out of control all too quickly. Today, I am talking with my friend Lori Rogers about exactly that: how to retrain our brain and build resilience, how to live with intentional positivity even when life shows up, and not always as we had hoped. Because life will always show up. We're going to get the diagnosis, a setback, a slow or declining season in our business, maybe an injury or a relationship struggle. If we aren't intentional, our minds are going to automatically drift to that fear, worst case scenarios, or self-doubt. But Lori reminds us that we can actually train our brains to look for positivity instead of feeling that panic. This episode is going to give you practical ways to do just that. Welcome back to the Sunshine Cafe, where we pour positive back into the world and elevate how we lead life with faith-aligned conversations. Let's dive in. Hello and welcome back to the Sunshine Cafe. I am Lisa Roers, your host, and we've got a very special episode for you. I'm really excited for you to meet my guest today. You know, life shows up for us in so many different ways, and we never know really how we're going to feel from one day to the next. We never know what's going to hit us one day to the next. And so having the skills to navigate all of the unexpected things in life is one of the key things that we all need to learn in order to handle all the things that come up in life. And I'll tell you what, my sweet guest today knows all about this. So I want to introduce you to Lori Rogers and welcome you to the show. Thanks, Lori.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
You've got so many things with the Positivity Academy and the other things that you do to really help to equip people with the tools that they need to ignite productivity and handle the things that come at us. Tell us a little bit about how you got into that work and why it's so important to you.
Right. So if you think back in 2011, our country was coming out, or still kind of in a recession and in a downturn. And Neil and I own a swag business, Rogers Marketing. And at that time, business was very slow. Clients were canceling orders or not ordering things at all. It was a very tumultuous time. And, you know, under normal circumstances, no big deal. You gung ho, you weather the storm. But other things are going on. I should say, too, I kind of grew up a little bit of a worry wart. Not a little bit, a worry wart, per se. That's sort of like my general theme. And at that same time, my daughter, who was playing lacrosse in college, was injured, and she was home dealing with a head injury. And my middle son, who's a non-speaking autistic young man, was transitioning out of high school into the adult world, which at that time in 2011, 2012, there weren't many options out there in the adult world for him. He's 34 now. So at that time, he was like the tip of the iceberg for that massive population of kids with that diagnosis. So I was fearful. I was worried about business, worried about my daughter. Is she ever going to recover? Will she ever drive again? What is happening? Is she going to get to go back to college? What's going on? Craig, worried about him and where is he going to go every day? What's going to happen? What's he going to do? Is he going to be a stress factory every day? And, you know, like I said, under normal circumstances, one thing is okay, but I didn't have the skills and the tools to really manage all of it. And I mean, I just went about my day-to-day business, not happy, not joyful, but just like sort of just getting it all done. And at that time, my daughter asked me to drive her to a wellness fair, which I didn't even know what that was. She couldn't drive, so I drove her and we went. It was right here in Nashville where we live. And I learned about your beliefs, your thoughts, your words, how that forms beliefs in your head about yourself, your business, your life, your relationships, your house, whatever, and how we have the power to change our mindset, to change what we're thinking, to change our beliefs, which will bring you to all these cool benefits. And I was like, wait a minute, what? What do you mean I'm worthy? What do you mean I'm loved no matter what? So all of those beliefs from, you know, growing up in different areas of my life were sitting there. And I thought, whoa, wait a minute. I didn't know all of this. And how come I didn't know all of this over here, this beautiful, cool stuff. And let's get more. So we went to some presentations. I bought a bunch of books. I studied for like 2 years to learn about this and to learn how I could change my mindset to be lighter and more joyful, because things do happen every day. So I don't want to be in the ditch every day, right? I want to build my happiness level. I want to build my resilience. I want to think better thoughts about my relationships, about myself, about my business and my health and my body and my wellness. So I just kept, reading and doing and learning. And I learned these different activities that I still do every day now. And once I learned that the activities I was doing were scientifically researched and shown to make you 31% more productive, on average, you sell 37% more, you're more resilient to illness, reduces anxiety, reduces depression, you have better sales teams and people that want to work with you. And there's more that I list on my website, all the benefits to being and living in a higher vibration. If you're there, living in a higher vibration, living in your future, as I call it. If you do that and you are there, life can open up for you. You're more open to creative ideas and coincidences and ideas and thoughts and people coming into your life that can help you. But I didn't know any of this. But once I learned it, it's like, how can I not teach this? I've always wanted to be a teacher, so now I am. And I can teach these free, easy, okay, I won't say they're easy, but once you get in the flow of it, it's easy, activities to people as much as I can. They're posted on my website. You can download some PDFs and list what I do and why this thing helps you, how this thing helps you. For instance, the first thing I do in the morning is the high five habit, that I go right into the bathroom and give myself a high five in the mirror. And Mel Robbins wrote a book on that. And she showed the research and why that's helpful and how that helps kids in school and all of that. So it's not just woo-woo. There is science behind it too. I like to call it, the scientists are proving what has been already known. So I find that really cool. And so as I started to do this more, I started to feel lighter and better, and ideas and thoughts and things would come to my mind. I'm going to go try this that way, and to help Craig and to help create an educational program for him after high school. So as I started doing them, our business changed and shifted. We got, things recovered, life was good. No, Amanda healed and she's perfectly fine and well. That was her doing, not mine, but I could feel better about what was happening. But for Craig, it's a little different because we are his guardians and we are in charge of his next steps and what's happening. But now, you think, oh, sure, life is, flowers and lollipops every day. It's not. When you own a business or you have children or a child with special needs, or, you have kind of wonky beliefs about your body and your own life, I want it to be in a higher vibration, have more resilience every day so that I could meet those challenges in a more effective way. So you talk about our conversation today. And I thought, I'm going on the Sunshine Cafe. I'm not feeling very sunny today. And I injured myself a week and a half ago. And why did this happen to me? Why did I injure myself? I haven't been able to work out in 2 weeks. I'm going to a wedding next week, so I'm worried and anxious about, am I going to fit into my clothes? Am I going to fit into my dress? Am I going to be able to dance? And I thought, oh my gosh. And I really sat with it and I thought, my beliefs, my thoughts about my body and how to treat it and what to do every day have led me to this day right here, right now. Because your current reality is a reflection of what you've been thinking in the past. And I know that. And yet I still have to remind myself. So when I sat and thought about it this morning, I thought, oh boy, this poor body I've been treating not very nicely, thinking I had to, struggle and work out every day because that's the only way to stay in shape and to stay healthy and well. That was my belief, and not treating it very nicely. So you're going to laugh. Now what I do over the last week or so, when I'm getting out of the shower, I actually look in the mirror and I look at myself and I send myself love and I hug myself. Say, oh, body, thank you so much. I really do love and appreciate you. And I'm sorry that I treated you kind of poorly in the last, I don't know, how old am I? Very. So help me resolve this because I'm going to treat you with love and respect and care. And I know you're going to do for me what you always have done for me. Carry me through this life, walk through whatever I need to walk through, help me make, do, or speak whatever I need to do. Okay, so maybe I'm not feeling so great today, and that's totally cool. Own it, process it, talk about it, think about it, and then know where I want to be and know what I need to say moving forward. And maybe that's too much information, or maybe like, Lori, you tell yourself you love yourself every day. I'm like, yeah, I do. I do. And especially these amazing bodies that carry us through life. Like I think about, decades of life and how I've treated it and not been very kind or nice. That's got to stop. And so I'm doing all I can to heal and know that it's going to be well and okay. But I think I needed this real jolt to say, okay, enough already.
I love your perspective on that, Lori, just the being kind to ourselves and how much that matters. What we think is really what defines us. I've heard the phrase before that the biggest problem with life is it's just so darn daily. There's so many things you have to do every single day.
Yeah.
But your point about our energy and our vibration and how we show up in the world is so valid and so important because we all recognize when we're in a room and someone walks in with that kind of energy and charisma, they have a magnetism to them that draws us to them. And maybe you're one of those out there thinking, well, yeah, but that's not me. And that's okay. We need all kinds of different people. But it's interesting to recognize how our energy level really affects other people as much as it affects us. And you and I were visiting before we started recording here today that we don't teach this to our kids. We don't teach them how much self-talk really matters and how important it is to listen to songs that have good words in them that aren't dragging us down because it's programming how we think. Even if you don't even know the words or you think, I don't pay attention to the words, well, your subconscious does. And those messages get into us at a very core level.
Oh, that's beautifully said. Yes, absolutely. Well, I stopped watching the news. At least 12 years ago, I stopped watching the news because back then, when I was going through all that angst and worry and fear, and I felt like I was in this cage of just doubt and anxiety, I had a little TV in my kitchen up on the shelf. So I'd be, on the island, getting things ready for the kids in the morning. There's the little TV with the news on. Like, oh, I was just bombarding myself. And it's all negative news. No one ever says anything positive.
Because that's what they sell. They sell the sensationalism. That is what gets viewership, which is what pays their bills.
Exactly. So I said, okay, enough of that. I took the TV out. So I haven't watched the news in decades. But if there's something, not decades, probably like 12 or 13 years. If there's something important, my son will tell me because he's in that realm. I know when things are happening. See, that's the other thing too. Well, Lori, you can't keep your head in the sand and not know what's going on. Oh gosh, no. I'm a rational optimist. I know what is going on in the world. I know there's strife and pain and illness and sickness and kids that are not well, our generation of kids, on the spectrum. I know that stuff is happening.
Right.
But it doesn't do me and it doesn't do any of those beautiful souls any good if I'm in the ditch with them.
Exactly.
I believe all of our energy is connected. And I believe that I have chills right now, that if my energy is higher and lighter and more loving and compassionate, that's when it's spreading out to certainly my son with autism, because he is so connected to his parents. He tells us all the time. He'll tell us to stop being mad about things because he senses it and he knows it.
Wow.
So it doesn't do anyone any good. So no, my head is not in the sand. And I know there's strife, but I choose to not dwell on that. Although it's kind of hard when your leg is in pain. So this has been a good lesson, actually, because my leg has been in pain for a week and a half. So what I started doing a couple days ago, I'm going to live in my future right now. I'm in my heels. I'm dancing at the wedding. But it's at the beach, so I'm walking the beach fine. I envision it and I see it. And if my thoughts go to, oh, Lori, this is never going to get better. How are you even going to drive down to Delaware? How's this going to happen? I say, nope, switch that off. I'll write it down in my journal or a little post-it note. My leg is healed. I am healthy and well. My body is beautiful and amazing. So I have to switch it and just go to the opposite. Put that on a post-it note and put it right here on my desk.
Yeah.
And I know it's hard because when you're in the middle of that storm or you're in the middle of that pain and worry and fear, it's okay.
Yeah.
So it's all right. Have your pity party and feel upset and be worried, but then say, no, I have the power to change this. And the podcast I was listening to earlier of yours with the doctor, she was saying our minds are these amazing, strong, beautiful things that can help us to heal. So use this brain to change that belief and to change your perception and to change how you're thinking. I'm like, okay, if you want to feel painful right now today, that's okay because I know you're getting better. I'm going to treat you so much better. And then I see my future right now, and I'm going to live in my future of heels and dancing and pain-free.
Yeah. I love the way you're envisioning that and bringing that into reality. And sometimes getting our mind out of our own little bodies and focusing on serving other people is also a great way to switch our mindset on that. But what you said was so important when you were talking about the news and taking on the stress of the world. Our bodies were never evolved or created to take on the stress of the world. Our minds are not created for that. We are created to take on the stress of our community, our village, our tribe. But we're not designed to take on the stress of every single country and every single person in every single part of the world. There's always been strife and stress and issues in the world. There's always been natural disasters. There's always been those. But we are in a unique time in our life where now we've got the media where we not only hear about it, but we see it. And that really stresses the compassionate side of our human nature. So I think your choice to shut off the things that were bringing in so much of that negativity and really focusing on more of your community circle was a really wise and very healthy choice. Again, not to say your head's in the sand or you're not going to pay attention to what's happening.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, it was a big decision and it was hard. It was like breaking up with something, right? So even if I come up the stairs to my office and my husband's office is on the third floor, he'll have something on. I'm like, I run into my office, I shut the door. I don't want to hear that. I just don't need that. I don't need that. And what you said about compassion, I believe we were made as compassionate beings, and the more compassion and giving we can give to other people, I call them conscious acts of kindness. That was one thing that was studied by Sean Acor is conscious acts of kindness every day, meaning you send someone an email thanking them, or you buy someone coffee, or you call a friend and tell them how much they mean to you in your life, or you thank a teacher with a little gift or something, thanking them, oh my gosh, thank you for doing that extra work for my child. That meant a lot to me. And sometimes they're called random acts of kindness. I like to call it conscious acts of kindness because I really think about, okay, what am I going to do today? You're creating this ripple effect in the world. So you're doing it for someone else. So you feel good about that. They feel great about getting this little whatever, a note, an email, a text, what have you. And by the way, it was studied that a text message thanking someone, telling them how much you appreciate them was more effective than an email. So I found that really interesting. It's something about that instant gratification or that instant ding, on your phone means more.
Yeah.
And so that process of doing that sends out this ripple effect because hopefully if I did it to you, you would do it to someone else and they would do it to someone else. And you're creating this compassionate, empathetic environment. And we were kind of wired to be like that and to do that. It was studied that one of the things that brought people the most joy and happiness was doing things for other people, doing things in service, not to get anything back, but just because you wanted to. We were kind of wired to do that, to be compassionate to one another, and that raises your vibration.
Yeah, so true. So Lori, I'm curious because you work with so many people. You speak, you've got a podcast you work with, you've got this marketing thing that you and your husband do, and so many ways you have intentionally poured positive out into the world. Of course, that's what Sunshine Cafe is all about. So if someone's listening today and maybe it was kind of in that space where you were prior to that wellness conference that you and your daughter went to,
Mhm.
what would you say to them to try to start turning the tide of how they think about themselves and their mindset?
Sure. Well, the first thing is, thank you. You listened to this. Second thing is you're aware. Like, I wasn't even aware that there is another way. So now you're aware. Oh, I can make some adjustments in my life and how I'm thinking and what I'm saying. The first thing I did, and this is one of the coolest, easiest things to do, is when a negative thought about yourself, your business, your life, your house, whatever comes in. So I was thinking, oh, I'm never going to get that sale. Oh, we're never going to be able to pay our suppliers. Oh, I'm never going to, do whatever. I would grab a sticky note and I would write the opposite of that
Mm.
on the sticky note and I would put it up on the wall in my office. So if that thought came in, I went immediately to the opposite. And I started to train my brain to think of the positive statement, not the negative one. It's like, how easy is that to just no, no, no. Thank you. And I would thank it. Thank you, ego, for warning me that this could happen. I appreciate that because that's your job. The amygdala is very, keeps us alive. And I appreciate that in you, but I don't need you right now. I don't need you to warn me that I'm not going to be able to pay my suppliers. Yes, I will. And I would put in a little sticky note and say, there's plenty for everyone, including me. And I would stick that on there. Or I would say, Craig is happy and calm and all is working out. I'd stick that up there. We have the power to change our thoughts and our beliefs. So start there. Start with recognition that you have the power. Now you're aware. Okay, all right. So I'll just write those thoughts down. I'll process it. I'll thank my brain and my ego for trying to protect me. And then I'll tell it, I don't need that anymore because this is going to be my reality. This is my reality now. And I had those sticky notes up there.
Nice.
So that's the first thing I started to do. And then the next thing I would suggest is every morning, and this is quick and easy, you grab your journal, you write down 3 unique things that you appreciate from the last 24 hours. So what you're doing there is you're rewiring your brain. So instead of it always looking for the negative, the worry, the fear, the doubt, because that's its like default mode, you're saying, okay, fine, you can sit over here and do that, but I'm going to balance you out and make this part of my brain even stronger, looking for positive things, looking for things to appreciate. And I'm going to rewire so that my brain starts to do this. So we still need our amygdala. God forbid we're walking across the street and a bus is coming. We need to be warning, warning, move. But it doesn't have to control every moment of every aspect of our lives. We can adjust it.
Okay.
So as you look for more and more things to appreciate, I love this quote. It's what you appreciate, appreciate. As you think of more things and write these things down in your journal, you're going to find more and more and more every day. And your brain is going to be like, oh, okay, this is what I'm going to think about. And that just sort of just calms and it helps you feel better. And the other thing I would suggest, if you want the science, this is so cool, but there's a 12-minute and 53-second TED Talk by Sean Achor. He was a Harvard and MIT researcher, and he is a happiness researcher, and he wrote the book, The Happiness Advantage, a few other books. So his TED Talk, he takes you through the science and the benefits of doing the appreciation practice, 5 minutes of meditation. I would say start slow, do what you can each day. A conscious act of kindness, and moving your body every day for 30 minutes. So he studied those activities and he outlines the benefits of doing all of those. It's almost like the scientists, like I said earlier, are proving the law of attraction. And the other thing I would suggest, spend time with a 1-year-old or a 2-year-old. All they are is pure love, joy, fun. They're constantly smiling, constantly laughing, constantly doing fun things. Like spend a couple days with a toddler.
Yeah.
And, oh yeah, I used to be that way. I used to have that joy, love, fun, and excitement in my life every day too.
I love that you mentioned that, Lori. That's just brilliant about the whole changing our mindset and how we can train our brain. If you're only thinking negative and you constantly think negative and you're always looking for what will go wrong, your brain gets better and better at that. And if you do the opposite and think, oh, what if it goes right? Let's think about the positive side of things and maybe things will work out really well. And if you train that side of your brain, it will start thinking that way too. But it is a very intentional process to kind of get that boulder moving.
Yes, it is. And sometimes you're going to doubt yourself, and the doubt's going to come in. Oh, that's such, hairy feary stuff. No, and I get that. I felt that way too in the beginning. But what happened to me is I got to a point in my life where, okay, I'm done. I don't want to live with this fear and worry and doubt anymore. I'm just done. So these activities are free. They're easy. I can sit in my house and do them. I'm going to try. So on our website, positiveactivity.net, there's a few free downloads. One of them is the activities that I do every day to help raise my vibration, help raise my resilience and build my resilience and happiness level. And you can follow along and do them too. And then there's another one that explains why the science behind each one. So you can start there and just to get like a little mini course on, what's happening in your brain and what's going on and the few things that you can do. If you're sitting in your car right now listening to this, or you're home listening, just go in the mirror and give yourself a high five, because you're amazing and worthy of all the good things you want. Absolutely, absolutely.
That's a great
Yeah.
word. Such a great word. I love what you're doing. I love that you're helping people to learn how to be more positive and to be more optimistic and intentional about their lives. And why not? I mean, we have so many days in this world. Who knows how many? Our days are numbered. But why not live each day with that kind of outward positivity and expecting the best instead of the worst and all of those things? Why not embrace that? I love that you're doing that and helping people learn what we never teach our kids and we never teach them in college. In fact, we're really much better at teaching people to look for what's going to go wrong than we are at teaching them for what could go right.
I know what's interesting. John Torres, he has a class at Syracuse University on happiness.
Nice.
So it's getting there
Step by
little by
step.
little, and the
Yep.
classes are full. Like they're and Sean Acor was also a research studier, and he taught a class on happiness at Harvard.
Well, and it sounds like kind of a fluffy class, right? Doesn't it? Oh, I'm going to learn how to be happy. But the fact is, you mentioned this at the very beginning, Lori. The fact is, if you can manage and figure out and train your brain how to think more positively and to get that happiness and the resilience and the resonance up higher, everything else also comes up with you. Your productivity, your excitement, your magnetism, your energy, your charisma, all those things also raise once you learn how to see the positive and live it.
Okay.
If they wanted to learn more about you or wanted to reach out to you, how would our listeners do that?
Sure. So our website, positiveactivity.net, you can connect with me on Facebook and Instagram there. And my email is out there too, Lori@positiveactivity.net. I answer every email personally, and I love connecting and mentoring people.
Wonderful. Well, Lori, I'm so very honored and glad to have had you on the show today. And before we wrap up, I always like to ask my guests one final thing. And I tell you, sometimes this is the question that brings out something that is just so brilliant. We've had so many brilliant moments already, but if you were to share with our audience one final thing for them to remember, one thing that you'd like them to take away, what might that be?
You have the power to change your life, and you have the power to right now live in your future, not in your current reality, right? And I have this little card on my dashboard, and it says things are always working out for me. That might be kind of tough to go there right now, depending on where you are in your life. But if you can just take baby steps to say, no, things are always working out for me, instead of, oh, I'm never going to get that job. Oh, I'm never going to have that relationship. What about thinking things are always working out for me in the best way?
Great reminders. Lori, thank you so much. You are a light. You are pouring positive in this world, and I love it.
Thanks, Lisa. I loved it. It was so much fun.
Lori's amazing, and this topic is such a passion of mine. I have 6 amazing takeaways for you today. Number 1, Your thoughts are shaping your current reality. The patterns that you rehearse in your mind become the lens through which you experience your life. If you are constantly thinking in fear, you're going to see evidence of things to be fearful of. But when you begin to think positively and with gratitude, and when you hold those negative thoughts captive and then release them, then your experience and your actual reality will also begin to shift. Number 2, you can interrupt a negative thought in real time. You are not required to ruminate on whatever thought gets planted in your head. Not every thought needs to be owned. You have a lot of control over that, a lot of power over that inner dialogue. When a negative thought surfaces, you can consciously replace it with a different one, a healthier, stronger, more positive statement. And that simple interruption is going to start to retrain your brain to let go of all that negative and start to actively search for the good. And that dovetails perfectly into number 3. Appreciation rewires our brain. When you intentionally look for specific things to appreciate each and every day, and when you pause to consider why you appreciate them, you're actually retraining your brain to search for good things instead of dangerous or negative things. Over time, gratitude becomes your default setting rather than the fear and anxiety that was there before. Number 4, protect your mind and be hyper vigilant about what you allow into your mind. I'm going to camp on this just a tiny little bit, so please forgive me, but your nervous system, my friends, was never designed to carry the weight of the world, so stop opening up your mind to receive all the negative burdens of the world. You can know what's going on without diving into each and every gruesome detail. Being informed is different than being consumed. This can apply to lyrics and the music you choose to listen to, the language you choose to use, the people you choose to spend time with, and any other inputs you choose to allow in. We can't choose everything. There are things that we can't avoid. But for those things that you have a choice over, choose carefully, my friends, because what you mentally consume, emotionally consume, it impacts and even creates the output that you're putting out there into the world. I can't overstate this. This particular takeaway is just so critical. Proverbs 4:23 says, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Philippians 4:8 says, finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, noble, right, pure, lovely, admirable, excellent, or praiseworthy, think about these things. 2 Corinthians 10:5, take captive every thought and make it obedient to Christ. And finally, Romans 12:2, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but instead be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And how else do we do that except by focusing on the good and guarding carefully anything we allow in? News is programming, TV is programming. Be aware of the programming you're letting into your mind. Number 5, live in your future, not just your current circumstances. Instead of rehearsing what you fear, start to envision, really see what you hope for. When you align your thoughts with where you're going, not just where you are or where you've been, then you start creating that forward momentum in your mindset. And finally, number 6, you, my friend, have the power to change your life. You may not control every event, but you do control your response every time. Small, intentional shifts in how you think are going to compound over time. Change begins the moment you decide to think differently. Wow, it is just so encouraging and empowering to know that we don't have to be a victim to our thoughts. And when we begin to intentionally shift what we rehearse in our mind, then we begin to shift how we experience life. And on that note, if you are serious about leading life with courage and the kind of excellence that comes from really being rooted in our faith, there's a free guide attached to this particular episode. You're going to find it in the link below wherever you're watching or listening to me now. So this week, my friends, pay attention to what messages and feelings you're feeding. What are you feeding? Choose the thoughts that lead you toward positivity, peace, and the life you want. Okay, check out that assessment that I put in the show notes. And until next time, my friends, be encouraged, be inspired. And I'll look forward to seeing you right back here next week at the Sunshine Cafe.